Did you see the records that it broke?
Let's see if I have my tally right. It's President's Day
R-rated,
weekend, R-rated.
Yep.
directorial debut,
Oh,
Valentine's Day and/or President's Day.
Yep.
Largest January or February opening of all time. February
Yep.
opening, or February opening day. R-rated IMAX preview. February IMAX preview. Biggest Thursday night rated R film. Biggest Friday rated R film. Biggest Saturday. It's a ridiculous amount.
Biggest huge.
Biggest Ryan Reynolds career opening weekend.
Well, that's not
I think that's true
but...
too. I don't think that was that hard to beat, but he had some good movies.
These ones are the craziest for me. Biggest X-Men opening weekend and biggest X-Men 4-day opening weekend.
Damn.
Wow.
That's big.
So yeah.
Yeah, I never really counted Deadpool as X-Men, though he's most affiliated with them.
According to Wikipedia, yeah, it qualifies as an X-Men movie.
Oh, I understand why it qualifies as an X-Men movie.
Yeah.
I'm talking just the character.
Yeah.
Well, before we get too far into it, I guess as you probably already realized, we're talking about Deadpool today on Drinks on the House, the podcast that's like sitting down at the corner of your favorite bar and having the stupidest conversation liquor can provide. I might as well get it out with the introductions. Of course, I am Zach Kowalski. With me, as always, are my co-host, Andrew Hamill.
Hi.
As always.
I did what I had to do.
And my other co-host, Kevin Alice.
The one with actual enthusiasm.
There we go. Someone's got to carry the rest of us.
And as you probably can tell, we're talking about Deadpool tonight.
The movie event of the year.
But before we get too far into it, gentlemen, what are we drinking tonight?
Nothing. I literally don't have so nothing.
Good.
Good.
You will drink nothing and you will like it.
So Andy's DDing this conversation. All right.
Yep.
Yeah. I have a combination of the finest of Miller Lights and water.
Gotta cut that Miller Light, man.
Yeah, it's too strong.
Yeah, it's too strong.
And I am drinking Franzia out of a Hello Kitty Thermos mug.
So it's not only out of a Hello Kitty mug, it's also box wine.
So my life is just right on track.
Zach is nailing this life. Jesus.
It's a pretty incredible image you're painting right now, Zach.
Yeah.
Just what, that's... For an audio medium, you have to paint a picture of the mind.
A picture of the mind.
It may not be a picture you want to see, but...
But it's a picture, goddammit. Oh, man.
Well, and as you heard, we were discussing Deadpool and the ridiculous shit-kicking it's doing at the box office.
Oh, man.
I believe we rattled off, 8 records that it's already broken?
Probably more than that. We were machine gunning them off pretty fast. It's a lot of records.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. And those are just the ones in US and Canada. Wow. An additional 2 global records. All-time opening weekend in Russia, which for the first time ever, I will say good on Russia.
Yeah,
That's,
right.
Way to go, guys.
You don't usually get to hear that sentence.
Yeah. Blind squirrel finding a nut.
Well, and then you got the list in front of you. Want to run through it just real quick?
All right. R-rated opening weekend. Biggest 20th Century Fox opening. Biggest feature directorial debut. Biggest Valentine's Day or President's Day. Largest January or February opening. Largest February opening day. Biggest R-rated IMAX preview. February IMAX preview. Biggest Thursday night R-rated film. Biggest Friday R-rated film. Biggest Saturday and Sunday R-rated film. Biggest I don't know what PLF R-rated opening means. Does anyone know how to translate that?
Profanity laced feature.
Is that what it is? Did you just make that
No,
up?
I just made it up.
Okay.
Sounded real confident though, didn't it?
We'll run with it. I'm fine with it. And then biggest Ryan Reynolds career opening weekend. Biggest holiday or long weekend opening weekend.
Having to beat out such stunning movies as Buried, Green Lantern.
If I remember correctly, Just Friends killed at the box office. So
it did. That was probably his best weekend past that.
Probably.
I would imagine.
But then you guys didn't see R.I.P.D.
Oh my God! I forgot that was a movie. I was happy in my blissful ignorance, Zach, and you had to destroy it.
That was a low point for both him and Mr. Jeff Bridges, which was after Jeff Bridges had just come off like an Oscar-nominated role too.
Yeah.
For that, the movie where he was the country musician. I don't.
Crazy Heart.
Yeah, I don't get Jeff Bridges' thing. I don't know what.
I don't either.
He just kind of does. He's like a Bill Murray. He just does whatever sounds interesting to him at the time.
This sounds like an interesting concept.
But it's like I find it to be like the equivalent of like Bill Murray doing the Garfield movies. Like that's his Garfield, I guess.
Yeah, that's actually a good point.
No, everyone's gonna have a stinker in their IMDb page, you know.
Yeah, everyone's got one.
Yeah, Bill Murray was in 2 Garfield movies and Osmosis Jones. So there's a few clankers.
I forgot Osmosis Jones was a thing as well.
Everyone did.
Everyone else.
Getting back to the records, there were 3 more. Biggest X-Men opening weekend, biggest X-Men 4-day opening weekend, and then biggest winter season opening.
And those are the hugest records, really. The biggest records.
Yeah. The X-Men ones are particularly crazy because I felt like, maybe I was just too young, so I didn't totally have a concept about how much money they were bringing in, but those first couple X-Men films, like...
No, the first couple X-Men movies came... No, they weren't that... They actually didn't do that well. I'm actually more surprised that this beat Days of Future Past.
That's a fair point.
That's the one I'm surprised about. Because I didn't know its opening weekend, but I know it was in the 100 millions.
Yeah. Let's use the internet to our good here, guys.
Yeah.
I'm looking up the box office history of X-Men movies.
Yeah.
I think the first, second, and third shouldn't have done that well.
I would have thought the first one.
I don't think.
Kevin, you were right. X-Men: Days of Future Past is leading with 748, give or take, $1 million. That's worldwide. The first X-Men did just shy under 300 million. The second X-Men did just a little bit over 400 million.
Okay, second one, that makes sense to me. How did do we have the opening weekend statistic for Future Past? Because that should have had the biggest weekend.
Yes, I do. 90 million for X-Men: Days of Future Past.
Okay, so it was just shy of 100.
Yeah. The only one to break 100 are Deadpool and X-Men: Last Stand.
Oh, the shittiest one. Oh.
that was supposed to be the return. People were really excited to bounce back from the X-Men 2, or X2, excuse me.
I thought X-Men 2 was pretty good. 3 was awful.
I didn't see it, so I can't comment.
I didn't think the first one was that good. The second one was really where they hit the stride, because it actually had some form of plot.
So, like, usually, like, most superhero films, I'll revisit pretty much anytime they're on television and I don't have anything going on.
Mm-hmm.
But the X-Men movies I pretty regularly pass up on.
Yeah, I don't think I've rewatched is the first one.
Yeah.
The only one I ever rewatch is the second one. I avoid the third one like the goddamn plague.
And And I've seen the first Wolverine movie twice.
Also avoid that like the plague.
Which
Mostly
ties back
based on the fiction of Deadpool.
Yeah, which I was going to say ties back into our Deadpool discussion.
Yeah.
Especially with the figurine that shouts back out to the dead.
This is my prized possession.
This is my prized possession.
We should probably say from this point on, spoiler alert, obviously, if you haven't seen the movie, we're going to be getting into some spoiler zones here.
Fair warning.
Just, you had to say it.
Yeah.
We're mainly just going to be referencing box office records and those, so it's not going to be that much of a spoiler. But
well, it's a
you're
highly
into that
statistical
thing.
podcast.
Yeah.
Clearly. It beat out, I actually saw the movie that it beat out for R-rated opening, and that was Matrix. It beat out Matrix. I didn't realize Matrix held the record. Or, sorry, not the first Matrix, it was the second Matrix.
Oh, the second.
Everyone was hyped after the first Matrix.
You know, I've never seen any of the Matrix. I've never seen.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it would be Matrices.
Yeah. I think if we got to pluralize it, which I don't know if anyone has ever done, but
I don't know that we should have either.
Just breaking records all over this podcast.
There was no need for this.
There really wasn't a point to that.
I think I only saw the first one as well.
It was an okay aside.
It was an all right movie. It was worth an aside.
Get into kind of how the film was marketed, because I feel like Deadpool kind of had a unique marketing before we get into the actual film. I think this is
a journey too. With
that's true too.
With the studio like, oh, we're gonna do this PG-13, and Ryan Reynolds is like, no, no.
That's stupid.
And then because this Deadpool movie has been talked about since Wolverine Origins.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it's been just delayed, and rewritten and everything. And there's been fighting between the cast, just about how they should do it. And I thought it was just a weird journey to make this kind of product, because after 6 years of limbo, essentially, to come out with this good of a product that everyone wants to see.
Well, that's not even the first mention of them making They wanted to make a Deadpool movie in the early 2000s.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, they had a deal with Marvel to make a film on Deadpool in May of 2000.
Damn.
No news was heard on it until February of 2004, when they attached a producer and writer to it, and they actually signed Ryan Reynolds to the deal, or to star as Deadpool, all the way back in 2004.
Damn.
Yeah, and then it just kind of lingered in developmental hell, getting rewritten, budgetary problems, etc., etc.
The fight for the R rating was pretty great, and it kind of had it didn't necessarily have the feeling of the artistic kind of direction that I'm gonna get into with other descriptions here, but it seems like it was representative of a big thing nowadays, where we'll give you a little bit of money, particularly comparatively to a lot of the bloated budgets that you'll see in superhero films, and then it's we'll give you a little bit of money, but then we'll give you a lot of creative freedom, and then we'll see where we can go with it. And you'll see that it seems like it's a theme a lot in television, and you'll see a lot of more creative people being able to do interesting things because of that. And I mean, it was $58 million budget, which is I have to believe probably somewhere in the area of $50 million less than the cheapest X-Men film before it, and it's already made 5 times its budget, and we're 6 days into a run. It's crazy, and I think that's a great thing on a lot of different levels, because now it'll maybe give a little bit more freedom to getting some weirder comic books into the movies. I know I've been reading a lot about Neil Gaiman's Sandman books, which have been kind of in this weird developmental limbo for a long time, because there's no way that you can really make those books without an R rating.
Yeah.
And there was no real proof that kind of these stranger comic book characters could be viable to a larger audience.
Sure. Even Sin City, which is kind of a more obscure comic book movie. I think a lot of people don't even know that's a comic book movie, but
yeah, a lot of people don't. It turns out.
But even it was kind of a cool hit. And I think you'd have the same thing if they tried to do a Sandman, but now that they've done the Deadpool movie, I think the chances are higher than they've ever been.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Which would be great. There's the only thing that's really, there's not like a huge connecting line between the two books in any other way, except that they're kind of, they stick out from maybe the publishers or particular companies that they're produced by.
Sure, they're more adult.
Mm-hmm.
And that was probably an interesting thing to do, see as well, is that, like, I know your story was that you were in the movie and you saw like pockets of parents with their children.
Yeah.
Mine was a very strangely like purely adult audience, and it I would have expected that this film would have drawn just like particular like nerds that were into this comic, because he's not, like, in the grand scheme of things, he's not a super popular character to an extent. He doesn't have like the cachet as like you can pull him from like a Batman or a Superman or even like a Wolverine, shit like that.
Of the comic
world.
He is the anti-hero cult hero of the comic world, I think, anyway.
Yeah.
And like I went to this 10:40 showing, which was packed, which was weird to begin with, and that at 10:40 in the morning showing, and like as I'm there in line, a lady from my work who's probably between 45 and 50, her and her husband were both in line going to the movie, and she's like, "Oh, are you going to see Deadpool?" And I was like, "Yeah." And then she was like, "Yeah, me and my husband are going. All my kids have already gone, and they've seen it twice." So it was like it's drawing in like this weird like non-comic book audience, like not even people that you would necessarily even attribute to going to see like larger big budget ones at the same time too.
Yeah, I was just talking with someone, and they were like, "Oh, I don't really like superhero movies." I go, "Well, this isn't a superhero movie per se."
Yeah. I think that
I first corrected them on the misconception, because I think this was a huge misconception just with Deadpool, because there's so many superhero movies that they just assumed he's in a leotard, he's a superhero.
Yeah. No,
he's not a hero.
No,
God, he's not a hero.
I was telling my boss about the movie, and as soon as I mentioned the words Marvel, and he was like, "Oh, I'm not gonna see it."
Yeah.
It's like, well, you were interested right up until I said the words Marvel or word Marvel.
Yeah. I keep promising people this isn't a superhero movie.
Yeah.
This is absolutely not a superhero movie. You're not gonna get feel good moments. You're gonna get a lot of ridiculous jokes, a lot of death, and a lot of fourth wall breaks. That's what you're gonna get.
That was a funny thing that I think I've been reading too, is that people were, if there was sort of one complaint that's come out of it from reviewers, is that maybe that it was too self-aware of what it was, and that the character is trying too hard to break all of these like kind of like tropes that you'll see in like comic book or superhero films. But it seems almost like they never read the comic book, because every panel is like he's constantly breaking the fourth wall. He's constantly doing stupid shit like that. Like it's not necessarily like so self-aware. It's just like being true to what the comic actually is.
I think that's a big thing I've seen with reviewers too, is they just didn't understand what the source material was, and being true to that source material was incredibly important, especially to the fan base. Holy crap. Like, it was clear that if they didn't make this Deadpool movie right, like, to Deadpool, and they would have maybe pandered more to the critics or something like that, and people would have backlashed.
Oh, God. You remember, speaking of the PG-13 controversy, Ryan Reynolds tweeted out as an April Fool's joke, it's like, "Yeah, sorry, it's going to be PG-13, my hands are tied." And people went ape shit.
Yeah.
And he's had to, 5 minutes later, "Hey, just April Fools, guys."
Relax.
It's just like it inherently doesn't work any other way. Like it would have. I don't even know how to describe. It would have been really weird to see them try and pull it off, not being able to be as inappropriate as possible.
Now I think Deadpool could have worked without as much, because there was a gratuitous amount of swearing. I think it could have worked without the swearing, though I do feel like it added, to be fair. Just how Deadpool is. They could have done it without the swearing, but there's no way they could have done it without the violence. That's the big thing with the R rating. Because if Deadpool isn't killing people, he's not Deadpool. It's not his character. He's someone completely different. he could definitely do things without swearing as much, and that would have been all right. That would have been fine.
And I just read today that Zack Snyder came out against all the violence in this movie, and there's been a few people like in the industry is like, if Zack Snyder wants to sit down and I'll explain to him why it's okay for Deadpool to kill people but not Superman and Batman. And I think that's kind of what we're dealing with.
Character, that's the thing.
He ain't Superman or Batman.
He's a mercenary.
Yeah.
He's a fucking mercenary.
He's paid to kill people. That's what he does. That's all his character is.
Zack Snyder, what a little God damn it. That guy, I think he might be feeling a little bit of pressure now. I think that's an air of jealousy in that quote when he
think so too.
That.
He wasn't expecting because his movie, I believe, Superman, Batman comes out before Captain America, correct?
I don't know. I'm not positive.
I thought it was April. I might be wrong. I'm gonna do a quick check. Yeah. But he's definitely feeling pressure past just the one that he thought he would have to go up against.
Yeah.
Well, and for a long time about how Marvel movies are starting to get stale and kind of like they use a very formulaic pattern, which is a knock I actually heard the critics say about the Deadpool movie. Is it's still a Marvel movie? It follows kind of that arc of revenge.
But it's only Marvel in name though. And that's simply just because it features someone from that X-Men universe. Right. And that's because they still have to throw that tag on there. Yeah. So it's not it's still I guess that kind of sucks that it's getting roped into whatever kind of flack they may be putting on those movies, because it is kind of the X-Men thing is still sort of wholly separate from that whatever Disney Marvel kind of fuck thing that's going on over there.
Well, I think that's might be why Snyder's a little afraid, because this kind of showed that you can buck that. The longest time people said an R-rated superhero movie was never going to work, and this clearly shows it works. Quite well.
It just has to be the right people. And this brings me to a point that I wanted to make too, with Suicide Squad coming out.
Yeah.
Now that Deadpool has succeeded, do you think Suicide Squad maybe should have tried to go for an R rating? Because I think it's going to end up being PG-13.
So I read something that the way that they've been advertising it and the way that it kind of is still up in the air, they could potentially take it in a direction and make it more of an R-rated film. So they still have kind of that freedom to be able to push it in that direction at this point in time. But
do you think they go that direction? That's a big question.
I think honestly, if they do, then I don't think that it necessarily needs to. I think that if they do now, it just kind of looks like they're trying to capitalize on something that it looks almost like a cheap move to try and do it.
Makes sense.
Yeah. Well, but did you guys get?
But at the same time of that, sorry to cut you off, but at the same time of that, Suicide Squad is basically a huge collection of villains, so it would make sense for them to be that violent. I think the R rating would work in this case, just like it did with Deadpool, where it needed to have that violence, and I think Suicide Squad needs that violence too. Now, whether they're willing to depict it or whether they're willing to do something with it like that remains to be seen. But
I guess we'll see how it plays out. I think this.
Did you guys have a preview for Suicide Squad?
I did.
To see? Okay.
Yes, I did.
I'm sure we saw the same trailer because I thought that
we did.
Looked terrible.
I don't know. I'm fairly hopeful. I think one of the things that kind of is bumming me out about those films, I think it's cool in one kind of on one level, and then I think it's kind of a bummer on another level. And I think it's cool now that in those films, it's all of these kind of what would be considered legitimate actors that are trying to tie themselves onto a superhero movie because that's considered like a good thing for your career. It's not kind of
so now they're able to follow their fantasies, like maybe they read comic books as a kid, and they're able to do it without any stigma. Makes sense.
And it seemed like some of those guys that had gotten those, like Chris whatever his name doing Captain America, he wasn't necessarily he wasn't really a huge actor at that point in time, like when he got that role.
Yeah, Chris Evans was pretty unknown.
Yeah, he had done some stuff, but he wasn't Will Smith. And then you also have like
Jared
when
Leto.
Robert Downey,
Jared Leto.
But like even when he got Iron Man, he was still kind of just kind of coming out of a career that was in the toilet for a long time because of all those.
Yeah, they got him for a bargain. Because what they did.
Yeah, he came off of Tropic Thunder. That was kind of his return. It's like, oh, yeah, I remember this guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then he jumped right into Iron Man, because the first Iron Man was 2008, I believe.
Yeah.
Yes?
Somewhere in that area. It was
should be around there.
08, maybe it had to be 07, 08, wasn't it?
It could have been 08 or 07. Yeah, 07 makes sense to me. I'll look it up. You guys keep talking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think it is kind of cool that you're seeing like bigger name actors come into it, but at the same time, it was 08.
Yeah, it was 08.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I think it's cool seeing those bigger name actors come into it on one level because they're seeing it as like a viable career move now. But I think it's like it's oversaturating it a little bit. I don't know if you guys have that same feel. It feels.
Yeah.
I don't know how to correctly express it, but it doesn't.
No, I know what you're saying. It's kind of an oversaturation of this genre.
Yeah.
It's gonna reach a bubble point, and eventually the bubble's gonna burst.
Well, especially with two comic book companies both trying to build a universe now. It's not just Marvel. Now DC wants in, and because DC has always failed, for lack of a better term, failed.
Movies have always been
Other than Batman, they have failed horribly. Even Batman was a struggle for the longest time.
For a while.
Let's see. The first Burton movie film I liked, and then the second one other people liked. I don't totally know why. Danny DeVito, that garbage monster as Penguin, was. I mean, he played that role pretty well.
I thought he did a good job. But I agree, the film is not that great.
He was a gross enough human being to pull off that role. But then kind of that between that and then Batman Begins was a very very dark period of films. That was
a period we will not speak of.
Yeah, that was a good God.
I remember liking those movies as a kid. I said I remember liking those movies as a kid.
Yeah, but it was Batman, and you're a little kid, so of course you're gonna like it.
And I'm just reading a thread on IMDb. Apparently, it has been confirmed Suicide Squad will have a PG-13 rating.
Oh, okay. All right. So I guess
it's already been shot as a PG-13 movie. And
I kind of figured they'd shoot it as that.
Yeah, one of the producers has basically.
I was misled by a Yahoo
News
News
article. There's still technically time to change.
Yeah.
They're not enough.
Yeah. They're gonna it's on go to the Suicide Squad page in IMDb, and the thread is R rating and the Deadpool effect.
They're gonna Photoshop a bunch of blood into it, like just like really cheap, like just like like blood coming out every time someone gets shot or something.
Just do a slow motion of Harley Quinn smashing someone with a hammer and just pan around with the
CGI blood. They'll put a CGI penis on Jared Leto's Joker. It'll be controversial.
So get the people going.
It'll be great. It'll be great.
Controversy. The Eric Bischoff model.
Eric Bischoff model.
Controversy creates cash.
All right, so yeah, I do think this opens up more for R ratings in the future. I don't know how many superheroes or anti-heroes or whatever they want to use that it'll actually help. Honestly, I think it would help Suicide Squad the most, but because they already shot the movie, I think it won't end up helping, especially if it's going to be PG-13.
No.
But showing how Deadpool's success was, it might help other superheroes get movies. But there's already a lot of them coming out. Doctor Strange coming out. That's this year. Gambit is, of course, slated for release next year.
Yep.
I'm excited for that movie.
Yeah, that would be. Gambit's my favorite X-Men, so.
Yeah, I'm excited for that movie. Because I always felt the X-Men movies lacked Gambit.
Agreed.
It was bad. It was bad.
Yeah. Once again, omitting the X-Men Wolverine movies.
Yeah, that doesn't. Because the one that he's in wasn't Origins, right? It was
the first one. It was the Deadpool one.
Was it? Oh, it was. You're right.
Yep.
Yeah, that was good.
So they managed to ruin two of my favorite characters in one movie.
Well, I don't think they ruined Gambit, but they certainly didn't do.
I don't think they did justice, but
They didn't do it.
That's another topic for another day.
But yeah, with the Gambit movie coming out, I'm excited for that. I think Channing Tatum's going to be a good Gambit too. In all honesty,
he's really grown on me.
Yeah, he's grown up as an actor.
Yeah.
Weird to see. Because at first he was just man candy, and then at some point he just learned how to act or be funny, and it just worked.
You kind of look at the same as Ryan Reynolds. I think this is his kind of breakout role. It's clearly something he's passionate about. For a long time, he was that pretty boy kind of sarcastic. He was his character from Waiting for the longest time.
And now he's just an amped up version of his character from Waiting.
Yeah, he found an actual palatable medium to force it into. So way to go.
So another thing off of that is, how do we think Deadpool is going to be used in the future X-Men movies now? Because clearly the success can't be thrown to the side. They're going to capitalize on that. So how does Deadpool line up with the X-Men movies? Because it's difficult to bring in that R rating and this character that you've built as an R-rated into an X-Men movie that's PG-13.
So what I had heard was that because of this success was that maybe he wouldn't necessarily be included in an X-Men film, but it would force the hand on an X-Force movie that had been kind of swirling in development.
Okay. And then it would be for a little while, actually,
yeah. And then it would be an R-rated X-Force movie. That's kind of what they're saying.
Okay, that makes sense to me.
Yeah. So which I think I would enjoy that more instead of them kind of forcing him into those X-Men films, and then I don't know. I feel like that would be less natural instead of like creating another vehicle for it.
I kind of figured that they would bring in more X-Men into his movies now, because obviously we just got Colossus and Negasonic.
Yeah. Which was personally one of my favorite jokes of the movie, where he's at the X-Men mansion, and then it's just the two of them at the door, and then he's like, "Oh, it's a huge house for only two of you to be in here." It seems
almost like they couldn't afford another X-Men. Yeah. I think. My favorite joke was X-Men related too, when he was getting dragged off in handcuffs by Colossus. He goes, "I'm going to take you to see the professor." McAvoy or Stewart, these timelines get confusing.
That was a good one, yeah. I liked it, just moments like that, like the fan service. Some people may not like it, some people think they were trying too hard, but I think it was a good amount. I liked all the little references. I liked that Deadpool had a Adventure Time watch.
Yeah.
It was really funny. It
was very fitting.
Yeah.
I like that they slightly incorporated the side character Bob from Hydra, where he's killing all of those guys that like Ajax is like henchmen, and then suddenly he like Deadpool Bob, and then he ends up just knocking him out as opposed to killing him, because personally in reading the comics he's one of my favorite characters, where he always gets dragged into this weird shit because of Deadpool. Like they just stumble upon each other.
Yeah, he kind of plays the sidekick foil to him in a lot of.
Yeah, if they could find a way to make it so that it follows the storyline where he becomes a pirate and then he makes Bob act as his parrot, I would really love to see that, but we'll see.
Well,
we'll see.
That brings up something else. The end part, right at the end.
Yes.
Teaser, I guess, that they always do at the end of Marvels.
The end piece, yeah.
The end scene, yeah, where he talked about where he talked about his peanut butter to his jelly, which is Cable.
Mr. Cable.
Yeah. And they pretty much confirmed Cable's going to be in the next one.
Oh yeah. Now that they know there's going to be a next one, Cable will be in it. Based on success alone, they have to do another one. I don't see any way around this just being a one-off.
The sequel's already been confirmed. It's already pretty much completely written according to Ryan Reynolds today on Facebook.
I assumed Cable would be coming in the sequel.
Excuse me, Twitter, not Facebook.
Sorry. It doesn't make any sense for him not to be in it.
Yeah.
That does bring up though villain. Who will the villain be?
Andy, you would know better because you've read most of Deadpool's issues.
I read a lot of the newer shit. I don't know how they're gonna really work this, because it didn't, as far as I know, at least in the stuff that I read, like Ajax wasn't really a character, and
Right.
Mm-hmm.
so
they can make up their own.
Yeah, that's what I'm not sure how they'll end up playing it. I'll have to put more thought into this. You've caught me on my heels, Zach.
That's okay. Well, according
Technically, it was me.
Oh shit! I can't even recognize your guys' voices over this thing.
Well, apparently this version was originally supposed to include the characters Cannonball and Garrison Cade. I do not know who those characters are, I'll fully admit.
Garrison Cade's a wrestler.
Well, that's Lance Cade, and he's dead. Rest
I
in
know.
peace.
R.I.P. Alright.
But they were cut over budgetary concerns, and they thought the other character was, quote, a stupid hick character.
Stupid character.
Apparently, the villain Wire with a Y was supposed to be an additional villain. Then he's slated to possibly appear in the sequel. I do not know who the villain Wire with a Y is, because I haven't read comics in a long time. You guys would know better than I would, but that's just what I've turned up in my limited research.
Don't put the shit on us, Zach.
Yeah, don't put the shit on us.
Why have
You're my expert.
Why have co-hosts if I can't rely on them? Be me muttering in a room to myself.
I know Deadpool's weird when it comes to a lot of these, because he's feuded with Bullseye because they got into the same territory, essentially. They got into a war. He's feuded with Taskmaster. They could use Taskmaster. I think Taskmaster wouldn't be a bad call. I do think he's better suited for something else, though. Or maybe he's not, actually. I don't think... Because he's like a mid-tier villain, almost. Where he's...
Yeah.
Like, he's a bigger villain, but he's not, like... as big as like Thanos or Apocalypse or Doctor Doom, like any of them.
He's not at the elite level.
Right. He's more like he's just above like Doc Ock stature.
Really?
More the tier of like Venom. I think Venom is around the same tier.
I'd agree with that.
Whereas I would say like Venom would just be under the tier of like Carnage. Because Carnage is insane, and it takes more people ganging up on him to beat him. So I'm kind of going on that. Whereas Taskmaster could be foiled by one person.
That's true. That makes sense. Now, speaking of Carnage and Venom, do you ever see a Spider-Man Deadpool crossover movie happening?
No.
No?
I don't.
I
think Spider-Man is too goody two-shoe to have a crossover movie with him. There's no way.
Is Spider-Man 2, is the property owned by Disney, or is that an open kind of thing still?
I think Sony owns Spider-Man.
Is that how it is? Okay.
Did they try and sell it? I thought they sold it.
They might have sold it.
I don't know, because if it's still... That's one thing that I think sucks about this whole situation.
I know Spider-Man is being featured in new Marvel Studio movies from Disney. That's what I know. I don't know... What I don't know is if they sold the rights or just like gave him the right to be in those movies.
Yeah.
That's part of the thing I don't like about this whole scenario, is that oftentimes some of my favorite storylines with Deadpool is that he's oftentimes like he's a nuisance. His main purpose is like being a nuisance to either the X-Men or the Avengers or the X-Force, and you can kind of get some of those storylines with the way that the universes are kind of separated right now, but like a Deadpool like Captain America crossover would be sweet, and we're not going to be able to see that right now.
That's true. That is when Deadpool is at his best, is when he has a straight man to play up against, basically.
Yeah. And those are...
It's almost like he has to be the villain.
Mm-hmm.
In a way, yeah. Or a hindrance, at least. An annoyance.
An annoyance. More like a fly in your soup.
Yeah. And that
my big thing, though, I think my biggest gripe with the Deadpool movie in itself, though, was that they didn't use the Weapon X program at all.
Mm-hmm.
They just said it was experimentation. I think that was my hugest gripe with it. And I don't know what made them do that. I suppose it came to the same conclusion, so it's not that big a deal in the long run.
Mm-hmm.
But it ruins connection with Wolverine. Because that was the big thing with him. Like, they can't say that they were both Weapon X program now. And I think that's a big hit.
Well, and that's what Kaylee was bringing that up too. Basically, that she didn't. Her major complaint was that the X-Men were even there because she hasn't read the comics, so she doesn't know the context, Deadpool's involvement with the X-Men. So she
Mhm.
went into the movie cold on that and didn't pick up on why the X-Men were there at all. Like, just thought
Mm.
they detracted from the movie, and actually that was like her only complaint about the movie.
Yeah,
So
they
I
didn't
think,
explain that very well. I think
Yeah.
that was kind of a hit on the movie too, where
Yeah.
like Colossus was just there, like monitoring him, and he
yeah,
knew
he
Yeah.
about
shows
Deadpool,
up.
but we didn't know how.
Yeah,
Yeah,
if you
And
aren't a reader of the comics or like in the know, at the very least, you kind of were left a little bit of a head scratcher, and I can
mhm.
understand that.
so my
and I think scheduling him in the Weapon X program would have helped there because
yeah.
there would have been some kind of connection.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, I interrupted you, Andy.
No, I was gonna say my biggest gripe with the film, which isn't like a huge gripe, but it's like sort of along the same lines as you guys, and it kind of centers around his involvement with the X Men team, is that traditionally in like the X Men comics, like so in the movie, like Colossus is like opening or like openly trying to like recruit him to become an X Men,
Hmm.
and in the comics, that's never the case. They never want him around. They always
No.
begrudgingly accept him on certain things when they have to, but generally they hate him and they think he's a nuisance. So it was kind of weird that it was like he's trying to get him to do good and he wants him to come down and be one of the X-Men. Like that part didn't really jive with at least the stuff that I've read.
Yeah,
So that
they kind of used that as the excuse of why they were there, and justified their appearance basically.
yeah, that
Instead of
oh
like you were saying, Kevin, it would have made much more sense if they used the canonical, Weapon X program.
Yeah, because there's really only three people that matter in the Weapon X program, and he's one of them.
Yeah, it's
yeah.
Deadpool, Wolverine, and who's the third?
Sabretooth.
Ah, damn it.
Are they gonna bring back Liev Schreiber? I feel like I feel like he's done too many like crazy things now to come back to that film.
You never know.
Yes.
Like we were saying before. Now, doing a superhero movie isn't a detriment to your career. It's a
Yeah,
boon.
Yeah.
I would just think it was weird. Ray Donovan as Sabretooth.
I'd be okay with it.
Zach,
So,
also great use of canonical about 2 minutes ago. That was
Thank you.
good on you, man. Good on you.
and I got this text from you. We both got the text from you, Zach, about the 10 and 11-year-olds and infants in Deadpool
Yes.
watching the movie.
Yeah,
Do you
right
think
behind me.
has there been any backlash with that? I haven't seen any.
Not that I've heard, actually. I haven't heard a single thing, not a parents' organization coming out against it. No protests.
It's
Uh,
not like they were trying to hide it.
yeah,
No,
I think that's why they were just so blatant with it. It's like kind of, well, it's your own fault if you take your.
yeah.
We
Well,
warned you.
I think
uh,
there were certainly misinformed parents, but
mhm,
it was not because of the people promoting the movie.
yeah. Oh no, I think that they did about as much as possible to make it known what was going on there. Um, I did at the movie theater that I saw that by Sunday morning they did have like multiple signs up at like the ticket like counter
Hmm.
stating that like why it was rated R. So it was like in bold letters, like on like these like kind of like hand typed outside or not typed out. You
Yeah,
have to type it by hand.
And
God,
yeah.
God damn it.
They
God.
pulled out the typewriter. It was that goddamn important.
is that important?
Yeah, there wasn't a kid in sight at the ones that I went to see.
Okay, and I went to see it Saturday at noon. And like I said, there was a family behind me, probably about an 8-year-old and maybe a 10-year-old. There was a group of 8 to 10-year-olds down by the front, and about 5 minutes in, a dad walked in, infant in his hand and like dragging a toddler. I just imagine him saying, "Daddy's not gonna miss fucking Deadpool."
Mommy's gone, daddy's gonna play.
And if mommy asked where we were,
What are we gonna tell her?
Zoolander 2, Zoolander 2.
I found that interesting, given our previous conversations. Because you had told me the first time you had seen it, Kevin, that you were kind of like disappointed in parents that were, bringing their kids to this and just not either being uninformed or not caring or what have you.
Or just like immediately assuming one thing.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it's a superhero movie. I'll take my kids.
Yeah, we love
Do
the
some
Avengers.
research, parent.
I think it's kind of funny that it happens that way, but I think probably to the uninformed parent, you see a superhero, you see a Marvel tag on it, and then you hear an association with X-Men, and then you think, oh yeah, I don't want to have to deal with my piece of shit kids for 2 hours, so let's go see Deadpool.
Let's let Deadpool sit my kids for a little while.
Yeah, and then you end up creating a weird conversation with your children.
Especially during the sex scene.
Yeah, there were some questions that needed to be answered on the car ride home after that.
I will say that was personally my favorite joke.
Yeah, specifically about a certain insect and a certain feathered friend.
We'll say personally my favorite joke from the movie was the International Women's Day joke.
Oh,
greatly enjoyed that.
I enjoyed the Detroit knock. That was great.
Yeah.
I felt like an idiot because living out in Seattle, I forgot where I was for a second, so I was the only one that let out an audible woo and a clap.
Woo! Oh, I'm in Seattle.
I'm in Seattle.
I assumed I just lived to 200 and then die, like the city of Detroit. I also loved when he was beating down Francis. And he goes, I'm going to do to you what Limp Bizkit did to Music in the Night.
So I guess getting to an overall rating, I mean, clearly we had a very positive response to this movie. I guess any negatives that stand out to you or things you were hoping they're correct for the sequel?
Honestly, just how they tie it to the X-Men was my biggest concern and biggest flaw with it. Because they didn't explain it very well in this. They didn't use the Weapon X program. I think that's a big hit going forward because now they have to explain it a different way. It'll be easy to explain Cable because he comes from the future. Because they'll have to explain that anyway because he has no real association with the X-Men of this time. So when he comes forward, it's not, or comes back, it won't be that big a deal. But when they inevitably connect him to other X-Men, they're going to have to do something other than Weapon X or Wolverine knows them or whatever. And I think that hinders them in the future. It hindered them a bit in the film, but it wasn't that bad. A big hindrance in this film to me was that while the villain wasn't particularly weak, I don't think he was that strong either.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was just kind of
it had nothing to do with how the actor portrayed it, because the actor did a great job.
Yeah.
No,
he was great.
Ed Skeen? Screen?
Sirkin.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. It's an S. That's all I know. It's Ed S. That's what I.
Some dude named Ed.
The original Dario from Game of Thrones.
Right, but yeah, it was just how he was written in, and because it just came down to how jumpy the plot was. It might have been, which isn't necessarily a bad thing because I think it really fleshed out Deadpool and how he is as a character. But it certainly took away from the villain because it didn't feel like there was. Like, he was a villain, but it didn't feel like he was that big of a nuisance, even, to Deadpool. And at no time in the movie did I think, oh, Deadpool's in trouble.
Yeah, that's kind of true. I mean, even in the lab fight, when he gets stabbed by the Reaper and left for dead, you know he's going to survive because he can't fucking die. So, I guess that's the inherent problem of you have a character that's basically invincible.
Just like Superman or Wolverine, too. Except, well, the big thing with Francis is that, and I thought he would come up with something a little better than using twin axes, was, oh, I'm not going to leave any pieces for him to regenerate. And I thought, oh, so he's going to try and put him in a shredder or something like that. No, he just pulls out twin axes. It's like, oh, what are you doing? That's not going to chop him up into enough pieces. You're wrong. But yeah, those are my only cons. Just really moving forward and how they portray with X-Men, and then just a more well-known villain, maybe a more fleshed out villain. I think would help a lot.
I think mine will, at least like my little change to it will, I mean, it's going to be self-corrected just with it being the second movie in the series, and that it won't be slightly as choppy when they're continually having to go between current time and then to like the origin of the character itself and
Yeah.
that whole portion to it, because you kind of like it feels like so much time was like sort of spent going back to like the origin portion of it that it kind of like you had to like kind of shoehorn in everything at the end, like then the girlfriend reappears, then the enemies kidnap her, then it kind of like it was within like what felt like a half hour of an hour and a half movie, you fit in like a good part of the meat of it. So in a second movie, when you're not having to like continually go back and focus on shit like that, then
he'll be an established character at that point.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I think that was kind of an issue too, was just the moving back and forth, which I think took away from it just a little bit. But I don't think it was so much so that it destroyed the movie, which is good.
No, I don't think it in any way did that. I think that it just kind of if you're going into it and like you've been like a snobby thing of like going into it and it's like, oh, I already know this character, so it's I just want to see it like move forward past that, where you know that for a potentially new audience of people that have never heard anything simply besides it's a Ryan Reynolds character, you kind of have to develop that backstory and have a little bit of insight to the character.
I think honestly it hurt the uninformed Deadpool viewers with the switch around timelines than it hurt the people who knew, because the people who knew, they were able to switch between those timelines and it didn't matter because they already knew what happened with Deadpool. They were just looking for jokes at that point. But the neutral viewers, like, they actually have to figure out everything while jumping around. And while it was pretty consistent with when they jumped around to tell them, it still took breaks in between, and that kind of, I think that could have thrown people. I can't necessarily get in their heads, and I have no eyewitness statements, but...
You mean you weren't out there on their scene?
I wasn't outside interviewing people after Deadpool.
The hell do I pay you for?
You don't pay me, Zach. That's what you pay me
Sir,
for.
you're not holding a microphone. It's an empty bowl of popcorn. Leave me alone.
Talking to the chicken strip.
Yeah. Please come close to the Bosco stick. I cannot hear.
But yeah, I think that could have taken away from the neutral viewer more, just on that front.
That's a fair point. That's a fair point.
That's something I didn't thought of. But yeah, and these are, I think, minor gropes from, like I said, we're kind of really big fans of the character, and we kind of like already knew a lot of this going in. So I think these are just minor things that.
Very minor.
Yeah,
very
overall,
minor.
I'd say it was a great movie. I would put it about scale to 10. Let's call it about a 9.
All right.
I was gonna say about 8.5. I think it was incredible, and I think it was the funniest movie I've seen in years. But as a movie itself and looking forward, I think they could have done some things differently. Yeah, and just the organization. But other than that, the writing was phenomenal. It did what it needed to do. It's very rare that an origin story is the high point.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I think why this movie was so good. I think you could tell a lot of passion went into this, and a lot of people cared about this movie.
Yeah,
that helped.
Yeah,
it's such a weird fan base that comes along with this film. It really is like very, very like culty kind of diehard fan base.
They had to be real to that, otherwise they would have gotten slaughtered.
Yeah, you can't just kind of yammer on and on for years about how it's going to be just like the comic book and then not deliver at that point, because
then shit out a Green Lantern, basically.
Yeah,
then shit out Green Lantern. Please don't make my suit green or animated.
Yeah, I will say this. I don't know how I'd rate it on a scale from 1 to 10, but I will say that it did almost make me forget that Green Lantern existed. And I think that's about as high of a praise as I could give a film at this point.
Yeah. So a 10. So a 10.
Well, I think I don't. I guess fair. I went too far. No, I'd probably go like a 7 or an 8, because I think it was really good, particularly for what it was and for doing it on such a small budget. I think that was pretty great. But I feel like there's definitely room for improvement. I don't. Yeah,
definitely a great first effort.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that it's going to get better from this point on.
I think that was a good origin story based on the other origin stories we've seen.
I do as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because Wolverine Origins was a disaster. Captain America's first movie was not great.
No.
Yeah.
Thor's first movie was kind of iffy.
Yeah.
I don't even remember it, so that'll show
Yeah.
you.
What else? I'd say, shit, the only real good origin story I've seen, Iron Man?
Yeah, the first
I
Iron
think-
Man's pretty good.
I think the first Iron Man is still really good. Still holds up.
Are we talking just about the the Marvel movies? Because
Batman Begins was good too.
yeah, I love that film. So I'll have to go with it. And I guess that new Superman movie wasn't too bad. I have a harder time getting into that character that much.
Yeah, I'm not a big Superman fan.
Yeah.
I hate Superman. My hate for Superman is legendarily spoken of.
All right. Well,
He's the John Cena of comics.
I don't hate John Cena, but I hate Superman
what if
because all of his movies and comics come back to the same goddamn thing. Oh, I have things made of kryptonite. Oh, I've somehow overcome my weakness. No, curse you, Superman. Roll
I
credits.
discovered a new power I didn't know I even had.
Yeah. Sweet dog. Didn't even have to use your brain.
guys are shitting on Clark Kent right now.
Because he's a shithead.
Well, if you don't mind, I'm going to shit on Peter Parker for a second. How many Spider-Man origin movies have we seen now?
2.
Is it 2? I thought it was 3.
No,
It's
we've
2.
got 2. Because there was
We
the
got 2.
yeah, there was the
We're
Tobey
about to have
Maguire-
3, but we've only had 2.
Okay,
Yeah.
good.
I think because the new cast Spider-Man is supposed to be in Captain America. I think,
Interesting.
from what I know, because in the Civil War storyline, Spider-Man is pivotal. Actually,
Are we gonna get Donald Glover as Spider-Man finally? Is that are we gonna get?
if
Black
only we could have Childish Gambino as our Spider-Man.
Yeah. I'd take it. Troy Barnes. We're gonna get Troy Barnes as our.
Only if he has a rat.
I think it's some 19 or 20-year-old, some real young dude.
It's some fairly new guy. I think.
So it's Tobey Maguire again.
Well,
He is very lanky and Toby-esque.
They're actually bringing Topher Grace back.
There, he's reprising his role as Spider-Man. I mean Venom.
Yeah.
What are you talking about? He made the perfect Eddie Brock.
Oh my god! I just wanted to punch the people who casted him as Venom so many times.
I'm not sure if there's ever been a more forgettable like superhero movie of the past decade or so.
Yeah.
That was a real hard watch. That was.
It was hardest for me because Venom is my favorite Spider-Man character. Really, one of my favorite villains in general. And oh god, they destroyed him.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say that actually ruined my love of Spider-Man because I was a huge Spider-Man fan right up until that point, and now I haven't even followed it a little.
I have watched both Amazing Spider-Mans. I liked the first one. The second one was much more iffy.
Is that the one with Jamie Foxx in it?
Jamie Foxx didn't do a bad job.
No.
Just
really?
everything together. Everything together with the writing and
No.
Okay.
Ack is how I would describe it. I am excited for the potential of a Sinister Six angle with him, though. I think that would be interesting. Though I don't want Sinister Six to have their own goddamn movie named Sinister Six.
You know they.
I want to put that out there too.
It will happen.
Well,
I know because they've already confirmed it, haven't they? They already talked about it.
Six is going to get their own movie, and then they'll have a combined movie.
All right. Well, Rhino does not need a movie.
What are you talking about?
Are you sure?
None of them need their own movie. None of them need a combined movie. That group doesn't need a movie. Just be Spider-Man 3. That's all you need.
Give them a Netflix series.
Yeah, really.
Do that. Just give them each an episode on a Netflix series. Spend no money on it. And
the making of Sinister Six, and it's just 6 episodes introducing them.
Each character.
And then at the end, it's the 7th episode where they all meet each other, and then at the end of that, while it's rolling the credits, it says, "Go watch Spider-Man."
You have described Arrested Development Season 4.
Well, I think on that note,
Yep.
despite any misgivings or anything potentially wrong, I think the future looks bright for Mr. Poole, and
Oh yeah,
I'm looking forward to
absolutely.
anything that comes forward. So
The future looks bright for risky R-rated superhero movies too,
yeah, I think this
based
definitely
on
broke some
crazier
ground.
people. Yeah, like a Punisher. They could bring back a Punisher.
Like a
I could
good
see that.
Punisher movie.
Hey,
I'm talking about a good one, not the old ones.
I might be the only person on Earth that likes the first Thomas Jane Punisher.
I don't mind the idea of Thomas Jane as a Punisher. I mind the idea of John Travolta being allowed in films. That's
He was the
what I
best part.
mind.
He made such a horrible villain. He was the best part.
He was he was not the best part of that movie. That was
All right. Well, we can discuss this on a future episode.
Yeah.
God.
So, I think for drinks on the house, that'll do it for tonight. As always, I'm Zach Kowalski. Follow me on Twitter at Zach Kowalski. And if you're in the Seattle area, I perform at the Parlor Live on open mic nights, so feel free to come in and check me out and point and laugh.
The point in laughing is the best part.
Isn't it?
It's really the selling point. I'm, of course, Kevin Alice. You can check me out live just about every Saturday on Drinking Buddies. We do it over on Twitch Live. Usually start about 3 or 4. Play a variety of games, and then those videos get uploaded to YouTube on the Drinking Buddies channel. Twitch channel's Last Vindicator. What?
I watched your Helldivers videos. They were. Oh, that was a good stream. I was
It was
thoroughly
a good
entertained.
stream. It was a good stream. None of the videos will load up to YouTube. That's a Twitch exclusive now. I highlighted it. I put it up there so it stays.
Nice.
And then we, as a collective, have our own Twitter now.
That's right. Just launched.
Yep, just launched. The title of it. I am still new to the Twitter world. Our name is Drinks on the House. You can search that. Our @ is, I believe it's Drinks on the House, but house is spelt weird. Because I spelled it weird for fun.
It's spelled with 4 F's, all of them silent.
All of them silent. House.
Well, we had to make it fancy.
It's at Drink on the House, but house is spelled HAUS.
Drinks on the house.
Checks on the hoose.
Drinks on the House.
All right, and then I guess I'm Andy. Please leave me and my family alone. I will not be bothered.
I'm bothered.
But feel free to tweet him your questions through our Twitter handle, and I'm sure he won't read them.
I would have to read to be able to read those questions.
It's true. That's why we do this audio podcast.
Yeah,
it's true. Yeah.
Make it happen. All right. On that note, thanks for joining us tonight, and have a drink on us.
Cheers.
Cheers.
bye.